G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is an FJX-Imperium, not to be confused with a Chaytak Intervention. No, that's a different gun for legal reasons, obviously. So this is a new weapon from Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the new one, Modern Warfare 2, and it was added quite recently, so the porters are pretty switched on when it comes to bringing in these weapons from Call of Duty to Fallout 4, which I'm grateful for because I like the Intervention. It's a big sniper rifle, and you shoot people with it from long distances, and it does a lot of damage because it's got big 408 bullets, which is bigger than 308 bullets by a fairly decent margin. So there's customization here on this that is likely that to be the same as the Call of Duty variant, and it's got custom sounds and animations as well. See-through scopes are a thing here as well as it's got leveled list integration optional for download and tactical reload as well if you want to have that little bit of extra immersion or a little bit of extra not reloading because that mod is broken. Bad tactical reload. Let's get into the attachments. First of all, we've got the receivers. You can go all the way down here and craft the advanced one to get yourself 698 damage, which is quite a lot. I don't mind that. Calibrated Powerful, the second best, doing 609. So there's a fairly decent margin between Calibrated Powerful and advanced, but if you want to use this thing for critting all the time, I suppose you could probably get away with Calibrated Powerful, but on balance, I would recommend using advanced. Legendary effect is there if you need it. We will not. And you can change the pistol grip, which probably has the same generic sort of, I guess, modification descriptions as you'd get in Call of Duty, which don't have that much bearing on what it's going to be performing like in-game. This one says it reduces flinch whilst under fire. That's great. I'm looking forward to not flinching as much. Anyways, we've got a standard barrel you can chuck on, a 29-inch barrel, and this one is also 29-inch, but the bipod placement is slightly different. Obviously, the weapon looks better with the bipod folded down. We'll pick the longest one for the best range benefits, and then we'll move on. And we've actually moved on to the bolt part of this, which you can't actually tell the difference until you turn the weapon around in and of itself. None of this appears to be increasing the weapon's fire rate at all. Let's go for the H-bolt, though. For better stability and accuracy, why not? I'll throw that on. Next up, we've got the muzzle brake, which is standard right now, but you can throw on flash hiders, which we can't see because the weapon's a little bit too long, so we'll just have to take their word for it. There's also options for suppressors here, which don't actually increase your damage. Usually they do, but whatever keyword that's usually on a sniper rifle probably isn't on it, an activating ace operator, but a suppressor never goes bad for a sniper rifle, and we actually get a little bit extra range out of that because of the barrel space. Also, there's an FTAC Reaper. Well, I'm going to throw that one on. That sounds awesome, right? Next up, we've got a tactical, which you can throw on a laser sight onto this thing, which I'm guessing is, yep, on the side, hidden behind the barrel there. So scroll through those if you want to take a closer look. You got to turn the gun around to see exactly what you're getting. We're going for a blue laser here because why not? There's also a bunch of other generic-looking Call of Duty ones. Honestly, they all do the same thing, so you may as well just pick whatever one you want the color of, I guess. You won't be even seeing them in first person when you're using it anyway. Next up, you can change the guard, which is this little grip thing under here. You can make it with a little rope and tape wrapped around it, or you could make it more solid and perhaps a little bit more comfortable, or just standard, which apparently this one's going to reduce flinch under fire as well. So yeah, we're not going to be flinching at all. We're tough. Next up, we've got bullets. You can have armor-piercing bullets, explosive, which will give you a whole lot of extra damage. Frangible, high velocity, will increase your range by a massive amount. If you equip this one, you're basically never going to miss in VATS ever. So if you've got a calibrated powerful receiver and you want to get those crits and shots in as consistently as possible, then that is a very good option. Hollow Point will increase your damage a little bit more as well. Incendiary gives you a bunch of Skyrim flame damage as well as a ballistic damage, which is very powerful, but it comes with a drawback. And there's also Overpressure, which will slightly increase your range. Okay, so the incendiary projectiles and the explosive ones are not actually hit scan from my testing, but you can, and this is your pro tip, if you want to get the maximum damage from the incendiary, what you want to do is get the incendiary going first, and then if you want a suppressor, for example, remove the suppressor and put the new one on, and since the suppressor acts as a projectile override as well, you'll get all of that Skyrim flame damage with the same hit scan projectile with a little bit of incendiary flavor there as well. Now, I'm pretty sure I skipped over a few things, so scrolling back up, we've got the magazines, which you can hold a 5-round or a 7-round one. Obviously, the 7-round, you get a couple more shots in, so more fire for reloading, and we've missed out on the scope here as we got pushed down. So right now, I've got a standard scope. You can have iron sights if you feel like it, or these ones, angel scopes. And there's more of the generically named Call of Duty ones that you'll find in-game. That's some generic aero text, and there's big scopes as you scroll down. Generally speaking, the bigger scopes are going to be the ones that'll improve your magnification amount the most, and the smaller ones, they won't. General rule of thumb to go to there. I like this one because it's got yet another grip on the top of that, and there's our FJX-Imperium with the incendiary rounds. I'm going to create a couple more of these, including one with an explosive version, and then we'll get started. Also, I think I skipped over the stock, so you can throw a kilo tack, a lux, a rib, or a standard one. Take your pick. They're all pretty aesthetic looking. There is also a damage modifier option here as well, taking you from -20 to -80, and from +20% up to 100%. Like any weapon worth their salt, there is an option to craft them on a chemistry workbench. This one, no exception. So if you go onto your chemistry workbench, find weapon FJX-Imperium, remember that, and it's not Chaytech intervention, and you can craft the proprietary rounds. So for 1 steel and 2 lead, you get 10 rounds. That's pretty good bang for your buck. And you can also craft the high explosive one, but that's a broken perk. Yeah, we've been over this, but for now, this is the hotfix that I've downloaded from the mod author, and it looks like that the perk requirement is backwards here, unfortunately. So I can't craft those things. Normally, I'll just craft them using console commands, I suppose, but we'll have to take a quick look at that in the creation kit to fix that in the... Well, that's for the mod author to do and upload, but you can also craft the weapon itself here for gun nut rank 2 only, but the materials needed here are fairly significant, I suppose. Righto, so here we are outside of the Immersive Gunners Plaza. Here is our Imperium in first person. And looking down the scope, it's a see-through scope. That Institute spy satellite, that's got to go down. There's the reload animation. I suppose I should shoot something first off that'll actually give me an indication for damage. There is a mutant down there. Shot him in the head for 3,600 damage. Yeah, that's what kind of power we're going to be dealing with for this weapon, which is going to be great. I don't think we'll be able to utilize the sneak criticals for most of the video, but we'll see how we go. Here's the bash animation, by the way. I'm just going to hit this car until it explodes. So, looks like, just from indicating of how many hits it took to get the car, this is not going to be an overpowered bash overkill type weapon, which is fine because it's a sniper. You're going to be using it from far back anyway. And this thing, it looks really good. Being a COD port, I think the only problems they might have is either lining up the animations, getting the animations to work, and general scaling for the weapon. But as you can tell, this thing, despite being a giant sniper rifle, is actually scaled pretty well and sized pretty well. On the female model, of course, she's a little bit smaller than your average male character, but I think it doesn't look too big regardless. So it's a good looking weapon. The animations in that are solid, and the sounds, what I've heard so far and what you've heard so far, are pretty nice too. So we'll get started on the actual sniping. A little nitpick I have for this weapon is that unfortunately this thing, it has a see-through scope component to it. So I tend to prefer the Fallout 4 sort of TV scopes, but that's sort of personal preference. I won't really pick on the mod for making that choice, but it would be nice to get options for both sort of things on this thing. Okay, so let's talk about VATS on this thing. I'm going to be hitting everything, especially if I aim for the head. So if I want to be lazy with this thing, and I've got a weapon set up to be completely lazy with this thing, then I can just go ahead and shoot them within the safety of VATS and not have to worry about missing a shot as I hit on those guys for a lot of good damage. And it looks like we are definitely on now. Someone's probably run up to me, or I've stood into the direct sunlight a little bit too much. But yep, we're on. And there's some giant mantises down there. Not a fan of those guys. We'll quickly take those dudes out. And it looks like, just from the VATS shots that I'm getting, it's actually a little bit quicker. But do keep in mind that I've got some VATS tweaks on to speed up the whole VATS process a little bit. It's caused me a great deal of frustration in the past where VATS would penalize you for hitting criticals by slowing the camera down for drama shots, but that's neither here or there. Moving on, this one here is the close range sniper that I made with no suppressor on it. Reflex sight is the name here, and it's got the high velocity round, so it gives me extra range. I'm hoping for this one that we get a whole lot of shots on this thing. Take out that mantis, why not? And it looks like that's exactly what we're going to get. So we're going to be spamming criticals and hitting absolutely everything. Now you'll notice there that I didn't actually take a shot at that mantis. For some reason this gun likes to skip VATS. That might be a problem from the VATS tweaks, or that might just be like an animation problem issue that you'll find in the actual third person animations. But other than that, this thing's been pretty solid to use thus far. And there's a dude right there. The hipfire on this thing bolstered with the laser sight. I was best say reflex sight, but no, that's not going to help hipfire. It's actually quite decent too, so even when you're in close range, you can use this thing fairly effectively if you need to make a shot without having to commit to the time to aiming down the sight properly. And that was a really close call from the Gustav. Alright, time to bring out the explosive one. Now, I did mention this thing is not a hit scan projectile, so potentially we're going to have to lead our targets a little bit, which is kind of difficult for these dudes because they tend to move in very unpredictable ways. But near enough is good enough for these guys. We can still get the hits in and deal damage if we need to that way. There's a cheeky little level up there as I blow that dude's head off from behind a barricade. If they get themselves sitting behind cover like that, I might be able to just nail them in the head to get a good amount of damage. But other than that, it might be a little bit of a problem over range if I'm hitting a moving target. I'll have to pick my targets wisely here. But if I don't miss, then that just means my aim is good and I'm just talking out my ass. But these guys tend to, well, they're really inconsistent. Sometimes they'll run around like mad and run straight into a wall. That's the Bethesda pathing for you. That's good for getting explosive damage between the three of yous, actually. Keep doing that. Perfect. That worked out well. But other times they'll just dart and dance around and be super hard to hit. So just gotta watch out for that. And as I'm shooting targets from this range, you'll see there's just a little bit of delay. It's not super bad, but if you are used to using hit scan weapons and your aim is getting a little bit lazy, then like me, you might struggle to hit a target every once in a while. But again, there's always just VATS, because this thing's got such a high range stat. Your accuracy is going to be so high that you're going to guarantee those hits anyway. So really, no stress with this weapon. Perhaps it's sliding into overpowered territory with the VATS accuracy being so good, but you know, if you want this thing to be a genuinely good sniper weapon, you're going to have the VATS, the range to be high on this thing to support good VATS accuracy. Now, I thought my aim was true there. I seem to have missed that shot. Don't know if there's just a little bit of extra spread added into this weapon. I did notice on my very first shot, I did have the barrel clearly over the car wreck, yet the projectile seemed to hit that as well. So maybe just a little bit less accurate than what you'd hope. But the explosive part of it is not devastatingly overpowered. You get a little bit of extra reward for direct hits in the form of the explosive damage. If anything happens to be standing around close enough to it to be within the blast of that explosive damage, it's just a little bit of extra, so I don't mind that at all. Plus, you can do these sick 360 no-scopes with it. There you go, I had to get that codness out of my system. Although that first shot, if I had actually made the kill there, that would have been pretty neat. Alright, what else we got? Let's switch back over to the Super VATS variant. This one, again, shorter barrel. This is the 19-inch barrel. It's got a big old muzzle brake on the top. And that allows me just to hit multiple shots in VATS without having to worry about the AP being used up. So I think now we're on bloody straggler mode at this point. So we'll head over the wall flashings, and then we'll keep going. And despite me using this in VATS quite a lot, and I feel like I've been using crits pretty liberally, I'm still got many in the old, the tank is full for crits at this stage, so let's keep using them, I suppose. That's only a baby gunner. That's slightly overkill. Let's not do that then. What I could do is see if I can use the old hunting rifle trick, where if you want to get extra damage without having to crank the bolt after every shot, then what you can do is simply alternate between bashing as you attack them. You'll get those bash kills every now and then like that, but it doesn't look like the bash damage is anything to write home about, because I saw a 12 damage pop up. Which is just utterly infuriating, as Ayla would probably comment. And just like a Call of Duty moment, a door breach is going to trigger a slow motion, which we're going to be utilizing in VATS as we turbo crank this thing to follow up the shot, which never needed to come on. So there you have it, the Chaytek intervention, sorry, FJX-Imperium. I'm not really sure about the name. Maybe this is not exactly the same weapon. Maybe it's like a Mark II version of the intervention used in the later days. Also, the bullets are going through the stock there. Interesting. Okay, there's a little bit of NIF properties that have been changed here. There's also a cartridge that is sticking directly out from there. That's not a deal breaker for me. I can ignore that, but it might be for you. Alrighty, so it looks like Swan has made friends with a Deathclaw yet again, so we'll try to take that thing out before it causes trouble by running down the road. Never mind, the Super Mutant Suicider has found us. Operation Stealth did not last very long at all. I suspect that giant behemoth down there will be chasing me down pretty soon. Okay, I definitely got something there. I think that was a ghoul. That was another ghoul that I just took out. But wherever that Deathclaw is gone, he's totally lost Swan. Wait, there's a ghoul over there as well. So this is the advantage of using the hit scan projectiles. I can just click on them and then they'll die. There we go. There we go. There's my sneak critical damage. So I must have gotten that Deathclaw on that first shot there. So we'll try to manage to get as many headshots as possible here. He's going to be sprinting towards me. He's determined, but we can use the sniper perk to knock him down, of course. So that'll buy us that little bit of extra time to miss a shot that I probably should have hit. Or, alternatively, I could just guarantee those shots in VATS, because why not? Maybe add a critical into the mix just for extra insult to injury there. There we go. Okay, Swan has found himself yet another ghoul, I think. He stole my kill, the bastard. But I'm reading 4,300 damage for that headshot there. So as long as we can keep ourselves nice and hidden from him, and that'll definitely help my case, we can finish this without even being spotted by the big man. And down he goes. Pretty stealthy, snipery operation there. In broad daylight, by the way, so... You know, if he had gotten close enough, he definitely would have found us. And did I kill this Super Mutant Suicider? Yes. Maybe. Unless he ran off down there and blew himself up. I don't remember. I'm tired. Leave me alone. Anyways, I guess we'll take on another monster. And I like being at range, so maybe we'll use something a little bit more explosive. Okay, time for a nighttime stealth mission. Because, you know, we've got to... Bravo 6 going dark or something, and I wanted explosive, so we'll switch over to that. We get a little bit of a prettier light show with the explosive lighting up the night as we shoot in the darker areas, but well, we'll begin, and we've already shot at a bunch of humanoids with bigger health pools, so we'll quickly try to get through these raiders as much as possible. I suppose we could really test the explosive radius of this thing and the power of it, because taking out a survivalist into indirect shots like that, I guess that's pretty reliable. Probably worth mentioning that not every single enemy in this game is a bullet spongy Commonwealth gunner. Most of them are going to be raiders of varying low levels that are going to be as easy to push over as a cardboard cutout of Miley Cyrus from 2008. So none of this is going to be that particularly, well, groundbreaking when I say we're going to be crushing them from here to the other side of the Commonwealth. So we'll quickly move through these guys, and we get into slightly bigger prey. That is the Mirelurk Queen, which I'm going to shoot in the shell and not get that instant kill on, but it'll get her attention. We'll follow it up with a shot to the head, and just like Colgate, that is a very clean set of teeth now. Only thing that's got on them now is, I guess, sand. Anyways, let's begin. We'll shoot this Mirelurk dude in his legs because, well, actually, we go for a headshot here, but I think we hit the claw before him. And if we don't hit the head, then hitting the shell not a terrible idea. Or going for the torso. Cinemass with these guys ends up sort of pointing more towards the head and torso area, but that shell is going to be blocking out a lot of damage. So aim low for Mirelurks should be doing a pretty good job, especially if you hit him on the legs. Guaranteed good enough damage if you hit any crabs in the legs in this game. Especially if you want to disable their mobility, that really takes a lot of power away from them, of course. But now we can just sit there and no-scope this guy, but maybe we'll finish this off a little bit quicker. So again, this is the version with the shortened barrel and the reflex sight, and we're going to be ripping him a new one with a bunch of VATS criticals and many more follow-up shots on the way. You could probably make a prequel meme out of that, which we seem to have gotten through that a lot quicker than VATS was telling me. And, like, back off, buddy. I feel like we were a little bit more guaranteed to finish the job on that particular occasion, but that's okay. Some quick AP regenerating later and a no-scope, put that on the montage, and we can call it a video there. So that there was the Imperium, not to be confused with the Intervention, although I've done a couple of Intervention mods before, I think. One of them was a paid mod, which I pirated, so sucked in. The other one was an Escape from Tarkov, Escape from Boston version, something like that, of the Chaitak Intervention. But the COD one, I think they've done an exceptional job with this thing. It doesn't feel overpowered. Winter's usually pretty good with balance anyway. And actually, he's outsourced at this time to the peril of the mod itself, but let's not get into that. But I feel like the approach to balance on this thing has been solid. It's not amazingly overpowered. The only problem, I guess, is just this thing's incredible range stat, which leads to just cheap VAT shots you can take from basically anywhere. But for a sniper weapon, you could probably argue that it needs that so you can actually use it as a sniper weapon to utilize its full damage over range. The only way around that is to increase the damage to an amount where you'll be getting a consistent damage from this range, but without having the extra boost to that accuracy from those ranges. So it'd just be like a close range sniper rifle that you'd use for getting a whole ton of damage. So yeah, it's tough to balance that, but I think they've done probably the best option, you know. You'd rather have a little bit of extra range and VATS cheapness than this thing doing 16,000 damage on a sneak critical, because, you know, that thing's not going to be balance, and you'll find yourself bored using it, and you'll put it down without having to use it, you'll put it down because you're bored with it and use something else, you know. That's why when I made the legacies in this game, I just don't use them because they make the game boring. It's different for Fallout 76 because that game is grind. If you can do it faster, the game is more fun, but you want to take a little bit more time and care in your game here, I think, to make things better. But for balance, I think it's okay, just a little bit questionable for the range, and for other than that, the performance is good. The customization is good. The quality on this thing is really good. The couple of things, of course, with the models not having the bullets in the magazine here, or whatever's going on there, I'm not really sure, but that's all stuff that looks like to be easy fixes, nothing at an engine level of broken. So looking forward to seeing this thing updated going forward. This will probably stay on my load order, so high recommendation. Check out links in the description. It should be down there if you want to download this thing an Xbox port will be provided as well if I can find one. Thanks for watching.